Welcome to Investors Insight, where this week could be the most impactful week of the year. Guys, there's a lot to cover. We're analyzing with the G7 meeting. We are looking forward and looking closely to see what happens in North Korea with North Korea Summit. And then also the Fed. So, guys, I mean, this is a loaded week. This really could be the most impactful week of the year. And also, there's a meeting in China going on that not many people are talking about that could be the most important. And it's the Shanghai Cooperation Organization between China, India, and Asian countries. And what's interesting about that and what's important about that is that China and India are supposed to produce about 40% of future global GDP. So just between those two countries. So we're analyzing that very closely. A lot to look at again. Again, the Fed meets on Wednesday. We expect them to raise. But Trey, talk about that further.
So whenever the Fed meets, it's big news. But the central banks this week, ECB and the Fed, they're completely expected to kind of do what they've been doing. The ECB is going to continue buying bonds. The Fed's going to raise rates 25 basis points. But what's going to be really focused on is what they project out. And that's why this may be the most important week, is because how will they see the rest of the year? Because the global economy outside of the U.S. has started to slow down. So will our Fed adjust the rate path because of outside the U.S. issues? Will the ECB increase their accommodation or reduce it? And those decisions will have huge impacts of how the market goes for the rest of the year. If the rates stay low in the U.S., that could give us a longer leg in equity markets. So it could have a real major impact on our clients' portfolios, on their bonds and their equities, depending on how these two very important central banks move forward and how they view the world. And on top of that, there's a huge court decision about a mega media merger that comes out on June 12th. Now, this one merger isn't that important. One merger can't really impact the total market, but what it does do is it sets a precedent for how the Department of Justice will view future mergers. And there's a lot of discussion, a lot of money sitting in the wings waiting to see how this plays out. And then we could see, if this goes positively, we could see a wave of mega deals being announced. Or the reverse, we could see things kind of quiet down, which would reduce some prices and some excitement.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Very big, all this week.
Yep. Actually, talk about healthcare. You brought some good points up about healthcare.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussion on the vlog about healthcare and healthcare cost and kind of where they rank in with the individual company. Usually, within any company, they're either your number 2 or number 3 expense right after your payroll. It's usually payroll, healthcare, capital expenditure. Sometimes that can switch depending upon the firm. And we talked a lot about that at the end of 2017, but what we want to tell you for 2019, looking down the road a little bit, even though there hadn't been as much on healthcare in the popular press here lately, don't take your eye off of that ball, because in 2019, and we're watching this, a lot of research firms we're following say that the average health care increase across all 50 U.S. states could be as much as 32% next year.
That's a high number.
It's huge, and it could be as high even, and the states vary. It can be as high as like 64% projected in the state of Virginia. It's lower, say, in California because they have their own exchange. But a lot of this wave of Obamacare wasn't dismantled, of course, but parts of it were. So what's happening, that's starting to flow through the system. And if you 2019, if we don't have major changes in that, for next year, there's going to be a significant uptick, a significant one in health insurance costs. So we're watching that for next year, because easily could be more impactful because of the level of percentage within any corporate expense line that it is. So we're keeping an eye on that for next year.
Yeah, that's important too. So a lot going on this week. In a week like this, it could be so impactful. If you have questions, please call us, email us, or come see us. Have a great week. Thanks.